like it could be having this kind of conversation in your mind, and you're just doing that, then you've arrived at a certain part, but a certain side of you doesn't really seem to shed light on a particular emotion that is present. And if you have an emotion that is present that you cannot shed light on, it only leads to the creation of further conflict. And this conflict isn't always intolerable. Sometimes it's very tolerable, but at the same time, it's conflict. It's a kind of conflict that needs a certain kind of resolution in order to make you feel like it is not present anymore. In order to make you feel like it is not. In order to make you feel like it is nothing. It is gone. It has dissipated. So you fall into this psychological or intellectual catastrophe. It can range from mild to intense depending on what the misunderstanding is in the mind or in the self, in the character of the being, you can fall into this kind of conflict, this kind of argumentative scenario in the mind. So you might have to go through you might have to go through a certain array of words rather that may seem to be illogical or unorthodoxical based on the fact that language works in a certain way that makes it seem like it's one straight path and not what do they call that? Yeah, language works in a certain way that makes it seem like it is in one straight path. So you might have to use a certain language that goes not the way language goes to satisfy or to bring that emotion to a state of nothing, to a state of needing not to attend to again. So you might find yourself trying to make up this kind of syntax that truly justifies the emotion, the state of the emotion. And that's the most conflicts you can actually have in your mind, or in yourself, or in the character of your being, because a lot of these things actually affect the character of your being. Your thinking pattern affects the character of your being, and the character of your being affects the perception of your mind towards the thinking patterns you have according to the character of your being. So it's like friction. The character of the being is rubbing against the mind, and the mind is rubbing against the personification of the character of your being. And at that point where there is like no conflict, at that point where there is like no conflict, Charlie is where you find peace though. But character of your being. The perception of the mind towards the character of your being. And then what lies in the middle is ego. The ego, that's what the ego is formed around. The ego. That's what it's formed around. The character of your being. The perception of your mind towards the character of your being. And then your ego. The ego is what lies in between. So this is a very good way to think, analytical thinking, or it's an easier way to critical thinking, or to having a very good psychological intuition. You look for the -1, and you look for the 1. Then you look around to see what could probably fit in to being the 0. -1, 0, 1. Character of your being. -1. Perception of your mind towards the character of your being. 1. What does that make you do? What does that make you feel? What does that affect? What is affected by it? What is made up by it? What is made up around it? What is greatly characterized by it? It's your ego. Whatever holds your character of your being, in one way or the other holds your ego. And whatever holds your ego holds the perception of your mind towards the character of your being. So you see, if this one gets hot, that one gets hot, and if that one gets hot, that one gets hot. If this one gets hot, and then this one gets hot, that one gets hot. So everything, something, nothing. Somewhere, everywhere, nowhere. I mean, it doesn't all make sense if you really look at it. That's why it's called the middle way. Then if you were to look at something more chaotic, from like the mindset of someone that does a lot of evil things or wicked things, you could see good, evil. Then you think of what is in between that could fit the characteristic or something like that. I don't want to go into that aspect. Let me leave that one alone. But once you've seen that, you've seen everything about it. The rest is just train your mind to have better tolerance to those kind of predicaments. It's not that deep. Well, the same thing goes for business. You understand? So like you sit here and then you sit here and then you sit here and then you're like, where does this see? So basically, what are you seeing? You're seeing the world. You're basically seeing God. Because it is everywhere. And you can never subtract it. It can only be God. What is it all governed by? X. Because the moment you take out X, there cannot be duration, there cannot be time, there cannot be the ability to have perception, there cannot be anything, there cannot be anything, there cannot be nothing. And if there cannot be nothing, then what is all there is? Nothing. But then there cannot be nothing. So that's how the middle way goes. An arrow facing the left side, an arrow facing the right side, an arrow facing forward. for most. I think there was a part that said, keep going forward. Keep going forward, keep going forward, keep going forward, keep going forward. So yeah. Even I that I am here, even I myself I am here talking. I exist in a certain region in the whole chemistry of this education that I have just spoken for. I exist somewhere in between, somewhere in it. I don't know. I don't want to be good. I do not want to be good, and I do not want to be bad. I don't want to use the word evil because evil has a lot of strength in it. I do not want to be good, and I do not want to be bad. But at the end of the day, I do not want to be nothing at the same time. I want to be something. But I do not know what it is. So I think that's a better way to think. But then you're being in this state of, oh God, what have I found out? What have I found out that needs to be found out? You're being in this state of disbelief as to whether or not it is complete or not. You don't know whether to be in joy or whether to be saddened. You just are, but you don't know what you are. And then you can also say you are anything, because you know you're not anything or something. That thing which you say you are isn't really what you are, because you're not doing anything but saying you are. Although there's a protocol that we humans follow already. It has gone so deep into our system already that you really can't do much about it. There has to be a certain kind of what's it called? Title for something. But aside that, Krishna said a biological instinctual movement gives rise to a psychological feeling that every movement is useless. Is it really useless? It's not useless. It presents itself to you until you know that, yes, it presents itself to you for you to know. But then you can never have an answer for what that thing is. You can only feel it. And the understanding of the knowledge itself over time loses its strength. You have to rethink. That's why they say a word is enough for the wise. Because there's no how you rethink and you would not end there. If you think 1,000 times and you end there, out of the 1,000 times that you've thought, you've not been able to stay with one particular thought long enough to know that there's no other thought and there's no other resolution. So yeah. frustrated, maybe you're going the wrong path. You're a fool, basically, just like me. So that's
Powering down.
because I stopped by itself again. Oh, because your mind will always keep playing this game of presentation. Your mind will always keep presenting factors and factors that go against those factors whilst you remain looking for the solution. What your mind does is to present the factors that contradict each other, ultimately contradicting you and your understanding of understanding. And then you have to do the reconstruction. As the constructor of the coordinator. If you construct your coordinator hard enough or well enough, you could trust your coordinator to coordinate things well enough for your constructor or for the constructor of the coordinator to not be bothered or disturbed by the disturbances that the coordinator is coordinating. That's basically psychotherapy. Or that's basically it. Manipa Moho said because of the coordinator. You could be the instructor of the coordinator. The instructor of the coordinator, or the instructor of the constructor, and the constructor of the coordinator, and the coordinator of the construct. The instructor of the coordinator, the coordinator, the instructor of the constructor of the coordinator, and the coordinator of the construct. This is like a range from conscious to superconscious to subconscious. Yeah, instructor, constructor, coordinator, construct. Yeah, conscious, superconscious, subconscious, super subconscious. All this together is like what makes up the persona of the human being. And it's still the same thing. Conscious, subconscious, self. Conscious, subconscious, self. Conscious, subconscious, self. The life without conflict is hard because conflict is psychological, not physical. Every conflict starts psychologically. No conflict starts as a result of solely as a result of impulsivity. No. Every conflict starts in the mind. Every conflict is psychological. Everything is psychological. The moment the psychological makes contact with the physical, it becomes a spiritual experience. So, the psychological and the physical is what the spiritual is made of. The spiritual is made as a result of the combination of both the psychological and the physical. That is what the spiritual is made of. So you have the branches of so yeah, the physical, the psychological, what exists in between, the spiritual, but the physical cannot be anyhow. Sure, physical is more of a plus, and the psychological is more of a minus. And the spiritual is just a combination of both sides. It's inevitable. This is like once you start to see this, you start to see it in everything. I will start to see it in everything. You cannot stop seeing it again. It's a gift, but it's a gift that comes with a lot of sorrow, not a cause. It's a gift, but it's a gift that comes with a lot of sorrow, not a cause.